Welcome to the Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 282, Add-ons. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live show where we discuss the ins and outs of running your computer repair business. Computer Repair Podcast is brought to you by Ninja RMM, the simple-to-use remote monitoring and management solution. This is all the tools you need in one place to provide preventative maintenance for your clients. Try it free at ninjarmm.com/10off. Let me introduce the co-hosts. We have Brad Torrey from TTCS Computer Services. How you doing, Brad?
Excellent, Jeff. How you doing on this wonderful Sunday?
It is going excellent. It's a little thunderstormy outside, so it's a good day to be inside podcasting and letting people hear our voices.
Awesome.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and start with a tip or story that we can learn from. And guess what? You're up.
Well, first, just thanks to John for last week or was it last week or the week before? I don't know. Birthday shout out. It was last week. See, that's an old name. I don't remember even how long ago it was since my last birthday.
Wait, how old are you?
I just turned 39.
Okay.
So, yeah. This is when it starts. Anyway, and also he mentioned that Google Mini mount kit. So I've got that in my Amazon cart ready to work on that next weekend. That'll be fun. And then just a quick Google Home user tip. If there's an alarm going off and you just touch it, it turns off. You don't have to shout at Google. You do have to be close enough to touch it, but
okay, that's a good tip.
Yeah, it's a little thing. I 50-50. Sometimes I like to shout at Google, "Hey, stop."
Yeah, several times. Kind of like yelling at your kids. Hey, stop that. Stop. No, would you stop that?
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So for real tips, pay attention when you're ordering things because sometimes, here's the story. So this was a year ago, and I just figured out what the heck I did wrong. And it's one of those things that I kind of just shelved and I'm cleaning up. So about a year ago for a customer, I ordered an APC Smart back UPS and went to go and install it, and it was defective. The little circuit breaker on the back, this little pop-out button, wouldn't stay in. It's broken. Okay, so the device is broken. Damn, out of the box, brand new. And it's the only time before and since that I've ordered a battery backup on Amazon. Don't. It's the only thing that Amazon can't return easily because it has acid or explosive contain. They just say no, we can't return this. And it wasn't Prime. Again, don't. Anyway, I don't know why I even did it because I already knew all those things back that I don't order. Anyway, so I made a mistake of where I bought it. Can't return it. Called it, and I ordered another one immediately because we were in a rush and we had a full plate. So that project's done. This thing goes on the shelf, and I'm like, I'll get to it next weekend, and I never do, and I keep never doing until finally I'm like, all right, I'm going to call this in while I'm waiting for some other people to call me back because I had one of those days where every single person on my call list was busy, and none of them were calling me back. So I'm like, oh, well, I'll get something done anyway. It's an international version, meaning it takes 220 volt, not 120 volt. It says it clearly on the thing. I didn't really pay attention to it because why would you sell the European version that required a European voltage in the United States ever? Why would you? Because what am I going to do with it? Nothing. There's nothing I can do with this thing. I can't sell it because nobody else can use it. It will cost me as much to ship it to somewhere where it needs to go as it's worth. So it's dumb. Anyway, that was the problem. I didn't read and pay attention to what I was ordering. It says in the thing, international version, 220 volt, right there. My fault. I can't yell at anybody. It's dumb. So
now, what brand was that?
APC.
It was an APC. So I'm curious because if you look on the back of, I don't know, power supplies in the last 25, 30 years, there's usually a little switch on there on pretty much every device I've ever seen for a long time that you can switch between 120 and 120 and 240 is the actual voltage. But you can switch that. And usually things that I buy always come with the 220 plug that you can swap in and out we're using elsewhere. So I'm just curious why APC, a fairly large company, doesn't have a switcher in there that will be able to switch between the different voltages.
I don't know. Maybe it's just more stable to be direct. I don't know. I'm not an electrical engineer.
Me neither. I'm just asking a question because I find it curious.
Well, it would have solved the problem today. Yeah. So pay attention to what you're ordering, and then you won't have to run into these problems. Because now I just have like a 50-pound doorstop, basically. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm probably just going to have to recycle it. So, and then another quick one, and this I will send you some links for the show notes. Windows, some recent Windows updates have killed a group policy setting that is somehow tied into Oracle and something that they were using in authentication. Just a normal Windows remote desktop. Nothing. I don't even know why it has anything to do with Oracle, but because I didn't have time to really research this. But basically, what happens is you try to RDP into a computer, and you get a little error message saying that like this authentication is not supported or something, or like doesn't anyway. So what you could do is just get all your updates current, and then that solves the problem. But if you need to get into that computer to update it, because let's say maybe it's a headless system or it's remote, you can go to group policy and set a key, one setting to what they have now called vulnerable, and then it'll allow you to RDP in. So, and there'll be a link to the steps that I followed in the show notes. But I was trying to remote into it. I set up a quick little Windows 7 virtual box for a nonprofit to use as like their QuickBooks server. And I was trying to just check on it, make sure it was up to date and running, and I couldn't RDP into it. And that's the only way I can get into it without a lot of trouble. So, so I had to do these things. Basically, it's easy. Just run gpedit, and it'll tell you which there's one bit to flip. So
okay, very cool. All right, so I guess my tip/story is Brad was reminding me earlier is something I've actually prepared to do today, or starting today, because let me let everybody know next week is Father's Day. There is no show. I know. Sorry. We'll try to make this one as long as possible to kind of feed the animals.
But why I'm here.
That's right. So I am looking at basically redoing my personal machine. Now, this is the machine that I use all the time that I'm sitting in front of right now. And I don't ever realize until I get to this point, I probably do it once, maybe every 3 years. I get to the point where I figure out how complicated a person I am by all the things that I have loaded on this machine, all the different things that I do with it, kind of the way I have my files in a format where I can easily find them, which is not always the case. So I'm looking through all this stuff, and I've said this before that I don't use my own products a lot of times when I'm redoing my own system. I use it on my customer system. I use Fab's Auto Backup because I get all my Outlook files and the different, things that I've created that take time and effort to do. So this time I'm going to use, I actually did it today. I had 800 gigs to back up using Fabs, which I don't know, only took like 5 hours. But that's all my personal stuff. Now, that's not all the stuff I have on the computer. That's just the stuff that Fabs is backing up. I actually have a 5 terabyte drive that has a bunch of file folders on it that weren't backed up because it's a secondary drive. Anyways, long story short is I'm trying to walk myself through the process in preparing everything that I need to make this a seamless process, but also one that I'm not going to pull my hair out over. And the reason I say that is because there's always things that we do when we're redoing a system that we forget. And again, you would think, hey, maybe I should have a check sheet in place that I can look at and check off the boxes as I do these things. No, I just use little sticky notes. I jot down whatever comes to mind at the time because, again, we're all the smartest people in the world, right? We do this stuff all the time. So we don't need check sheets. We don't need lists. We don't need any of that stuff. Well, some of the things I want to do, we're already halfway through the year, believe it or not. one of the things that I do want to get done is I do want to have a pretty comprehensive checklist that I'm working on right now so that I can walk somebody through the process of being able to redo a system, being able to diagnose a system. And again, the things that I take for granted, the hardest part about having other people working for you is that you have to take time to teach them. Well, if you can have a process in place that basically lays out word for word everything that they need to do, simple, concise instructions, that will save you a lot of time. And it's probably one of those things that we probably all should have and would save us a lot of time anyways. Here's the one thing I know for sure is there's always room for improvement in whatever we do. And I see that as I get older because these things become blaringly obvious to me of the things that I need to improve and make better so that even though it might take a little bit of time and effort now, down the road, I'll be able to have this stuff in place where I can just do it a lot quicker. And so that'll save me time long term. And so anyways, it's one of the things I'm going through is just the process of how do I get this done in basically a 2-week period with working and different things like that. Because I kind of almost have to base my redoing this system around basically in between podcasts. And it's hard to get some of this stuff done in a week. Now, back in the day, I remember I was redoing my system every 3 to 6 months. And it was literally like a 13-hour solid process to get it back to the way that I like to use it. Nowadays,
like 3 months. Come on.
Yeah. Nowadays, yeah, it takes weeks and sometimes even months to get everything back to the way I like it. Anyways, I'm moving from the other thing I'm doing is I'm doing a test on this system. I'm moving from a Samsung SSD to a Crucial SSD, a little bit bigger. I'm going to try putting everything back on one drive except for videos, photos, and pictures. Those I'll put to my secondary drive, along with the other things that I keep on there, like my podcast episodes and different things like that take up the majority of the room. But I want to bring a lot of my games and stuff back to a single drive. And I've always been not a real happy camper with using dual drives. It's just never an easy process. So I want to try to have the biggest drive I can. Well, the problem is I love the SSD speeds and I don't want to go back to mechanical drives. So therefore I have to have something that's going to be in place that's going to be able to use it for my needs and have enough space on there that I can move stuff around and do what I got to do. So anyways, this will be an experiment over the next couple of weeks to basically see how fast I can get this back up and running. Because obviously loading Windows 7 is pretty easy. But the problem is I'm changing my file structure again. So that's why I have to I'm just going to do a fresh install and go from there and do some things there. So anyways, be prepared. Get prepared as much as possible and make some lists now so that down the road you can have a easier time of doing whatever you need to do, or you can teach somebody else to do it that much easier.
You can do what we do for the architect office client that we have. Just use Terabyte M.2, the NVMe drives, and just have one so that it's lightning fast and big. Although it sounds like you almost need more than a terabyte, don't you?
So, yeah. So one of the things, I have a terabyte drive here. Right now I'm rocking a 512 gigabyte drive. I'm going to move it up to a terabyte. I'm playing with almost going to a 2 terabyte drive. The expense is kind of one of those things where I go, do I really need to? I'm not really sure if I need to or not. Now, this computer is it's a little bit over 3 years old now. So the last one I built. And quite honestly, there's not a whole lot I can do to it to make it faster. I thought about doing an NVMe drive, but I don't know if it's going to be worth the effort. And plus, I said I really want to bring everything back into a single drive, and I want to be able to. I think I'm going to try the terabyte. If it starts getting full with games and different things like that, because I had 800 and some odd gigs worth of games. Games are not tiny anymore. They're humongous. And the problem is, here's me. I download these games because everybody knows I have a terabyte cap, right? So it irritates me when I have to pay extra money. So I'm downloading these games. And when I'm downloading the games, I'm just keeping them on my system instead of playing the ones I want to play. You know, like I have a whole bunch of time to play games. I don't. And so I think I'm going to try to dial all that stuff back and just download the ones I'm playing. I'll play through them, uninstall them, reinstall the next one. I've got way too many games, way more games than I'll probably need for the rest of my lifetime. And there are a couple of games that come out, Call of Duty, that I will basically buy pretty much every year, no matter how bad it is, because I just enjoy them. They're a fun game, but I can usually zip through them pretty quick. So, what are you smiling at?
I'm just looking at, first of all, well, just laughing at Call of Duty, but hey, you can get a terabyte NVMe Samsung Evo for $400. Just get one.
See, now you got me looking into that too. Okay, great. I've been contemplating that all day long. I've been working on basically redoing my system. I did a BIOS update because I was behind by like a year and a half. And yeah, so that all worked out. And, you know, here's the other thing. Don't do this on the day that you're going to actually do a show, because it's not always going to work out like this. Just, I was luck of the draw. It worked out anyway. So
yeah, I made that mistake once about a year ago. And
I thought about it. I go, worst case scenario, we just won't have a show, but no. It all worked out. It was all pretty simple. And the other thing that I learned today too is I didn't realize this. Normally I have to, for a BIOS update for the Asus boards, I have to actually download a file and put it on a USB drive, which I did, not realizing with the latest BIOS that I had in my system, I can actually go out on the internet and get the latest one, and it installs it right there. Restarts my system. Boom. Everything's good. Restart it again, and everything's good to go. So I was very surprised to see that. Something new for me.
I still get terrified every time I do a BIOS update. I don't think this will happen to millennials because they didn't live through that time when BIOS updates it was like a crapshoot. 50-50, you were just going to destroy your computer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen a BIOS update brick a computer. I personally just have been lucky and it's never happened to me, but I'm still scared every time. Just go like, all right, we really want to do this? And my button will the finger will hesitate over the button, and then I'll finally just go, okay, go. And then hold my breath, and then it works.
Well, here, the worst ones for me always were routers. Because you hear the stories all the time. Bricking a router it seemed to be very easy. If you didn't have everything, if all the stars weren't aligned just exactly right, the moon wasn't pouring in from your window, shining on your computer at just the right angle, or shining on that router. A lot of times the routers, man, they were finicky. And man, whoever was writing these firmware updaters, some of them were just terrible. Again, everybody goes, oh, everybody's, Windows and all these manufacturers are making things easy for consumers. No, they're not, because it's not that easy. Now, I will say this. I'm loving the Dell laptop as far as updating the BIOS, because you can do that via software inside the operating system, which is really cool. It goes through it, downloads it, does what it needs to do, restarts, goes through its process, and boom, you're back in your system. And I've seen that work several times so far where, and they actually have firmware updates, and they'll let you know when there's a firmware update. So it's kind of cool with the Dell software. I do enjoy that. All right, let's go ahead and we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back with our main topic. Our show today is brought to you by Ninja RMM, the easy-to-use single-pane remote monitoring and management solution to help you become more efficient, more productive, and more profitable. Ninja RMM understands what you need to help your customers, which is why their RMM solution is integrated with tools you use every day. With Ninja RMM, you can have a faster fix response time and offer preventative maintenance to your customers. Ninja RMM provides patch management, antivirus, email, SMS alerting. You can be up and running quickly with minimum training time. Plus, there are no contracts, so you can focus less on stress and more on your customers. Ninja RMM also offers things like remote support, backup, antivirus. You have things, TeamViewer for your remote support, CloudBerry for backup, WebRoot for antivirus, things that we're already using in our businesses. You have network visibility inside your RMM, easy to read dashboards, and a powerful device search to create custom queries and export the list to keep your customers up to date on the hard work you do for them. You also have an executive style report showing important system metrics such as health score, software added or removed, hardware changes, and team viewer connections. Ninja RMM is offering Podnutz listeners a free 30-day trial when you decide to buy a 10% discount. Take advantage of this offer. Go to ninjarmm.com/10off. All right, today we're going to talk about add-ons. What are some of the recommended add-ons from reseller vendors that we have? Voice over IP, anti-spam, password managers, SEO, smartphone ticket management with signature capture. There's a lot of stuff out there that we can absolutely offer our customers on a regular basis. And I would say that most of the time that doesn't happen because we don't ask. Or maybe we have not implemented those things into our own businesses yet. And so therefore it might be a hard sell. Now, Brad, I remember when you first came on a show years and years ago, you had talked about VoIP services. And that was like one of your big, your bread and butter to what you were doing in the business. And so you had already realized that a long time ago that this is an arena that you needed to step into to have that add-on. Hey, why have a separate VoIP reseller when you can actually do it for them and be the single point of contact?
Yeah, I had I was working with someone that helped clue me into this a little more than I had already been aware of it. So, and actually, I'd wish that I'd known it, like thought about it more, even farther back. Like the earlier into the business you can get some of these things going. Your step one is figure out what your business model is and get customers and like just figure out how to make any money at all and like have some kind of client base. Once you've kind of done that, then you got to start figuring out, okay, how can I provide the best services to my customers and kind of maximize the revenue that I'm making from each of them. And some of that comes on the back end without actually charging them any more money. So it's like that money's there for you. And if you don't go about getting the product the right way, you might be cutting your own self out of an upsell opportunity to make money that the customer won't see the difference either way. So, yeah, we started looking at VoIP. Customers are going to ask about phone service, and they're going to ask you to help them get it set up. And you could call, or that you guys could get on the phone and call the phone company and ask, for service, and they'll deliver it, and they'll probably pay you for your consulting time. But if you also were a partner with that VoIP company, the customer would be paying the same amount for their monthly bills, but you would also be getting a commission from the company for the sale. Why not do that? Like, make your time, I don't have a lot because I've been shifting around and I haven't put a huge focus on it, but I get like $300 a month in perpetuity right now. And every month that increases a little bit because I will gain a new sale. And if I actually put time and effort into that, that could easily be a couple $1,000s a month in free commission money, just because you did the thing that you would have done anyway, but you signed up as a reseller. So it's definitely something you should look into if you're not. And it doesn't have to be sales. I'm looking at my list of things that we either do sell or are looking into, and it's like antivirus, F-Secure, G Suite. We're resellers with G Suite. I don't have a need to go through the process right now, but I think if we were going to do Office 365, AppRiver's looking like where we would go. I have a customer that had AppRiver that I inherited from them. I support them and they already had it. And having interacted with them, they've been pretty good. And I liked what they had to say on, was it Paco's show or was it Podnutz Pro? AppRiver came on it. Yeah. So I liked that interview. And then you kind of look at some other things like RMM being some managed kind of services are a different, you're not getting like commissions or whatever, but you're upselling a service and making some kind of regular revenue off of that. So anyway, basically every time you are going to do something new, you should look and see if there's a way to partner with them, because almost everybody has a channel partner program in some way, shape, or fashion. If nothing else, you can get a discount and increase your profit margin.
Exactly. Well, and I think a lot of us have done that over time, where a lot of these vendors, you're able to sign up for a free account and start using some of their products and services. I think it's like I said earlier, I think it's one of those things where we don't ask, so we don't get that sale for things that we're doing. And a lot of times, hey, you know what? If your business is so full that you have no more time to add any of this stuff, well, then maybe at that point it's time to partner with somebody that can provide that service also. But here's the thing. A lot of people, I hear people complaining all the time. Oh, the computer business is dying. Oh, there's no work out there. Well, there's no work because there's a lot of people that don't want to actually put the time and effort into doing the work, whatever that is. I mean, the people that were making, I don't know, horse whips back in the early 1900s. Oh my gosh. Hey, when the cars came out in the early 1900s, all of a sudden it's like, hey, we don't need, we don't need as many horse whips anymore. So now what are we going to do? We don't need carriages. Now what are we going to do? And so you got to kind of change with your times. Think about it nowadays. I think about it from this aspect. I think about my music collection. I've got a music collection that spans back to the 90s, maybe even a little bit earlier than that, when I had CDs and I would rip them into a digital format, and so I could get rid of all my CDs and just have them. I've only got about 30 gigs. But here's the thing. In today's day and age, man, I don't even want to put a DVD or a Blu-ray in the thing. I just want to click a couple buttons and go and stream it, whether it's music, video, or whatever. And so the times have changed. And guess what? The manufacturers that are when you go in and try to find a movie, unless it's brand new, or even a lot of older music, you're not going to find that in most of your stores. You're not going to find that at a Walmart or a Meijer or whatever. You're going to have to go to a specialty store, and a lot of times that stuff's going to have to be ordered in. Why?
Yeah,
because the times have changed, right?
Yeah. Where are you even going to go to find a movie that's not either in the $5 bin that you happen to find or the new releases? Just Amazon. But
exactly.
Or stream it.
Well, and that's so my dad was here. My mom and dad were here a couple weeks ago and visiting, and my dad wanted a couple movies for my mom and a couple for himself. So we went on Amazon and found them, and he's like going, my dad's the guy who's used to walking into a Walmart, going to the bargain bin and go, oh, I haven't seen that one in forever. It's $5, or $2 or whatever. And so we're paying for DVDs. We're paying almost $20 for these old movies. I'm like, yeah, because nobody's making these DVDs anymore. They're pretty, unless it's new ones are being made, but pretty soon they'll basically go and everything will be Blu-ray, or I think it's going to go beyond that. The whole 4K and all that kind of stuff. I think it's kind of like 3D to me. But anyways, they'll have some of that stuff. But like I told my dad, he's like, hey, you want a copy of these? I'm like, no. Most of these movies I can go on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, my provider, and I can click through, and if I want to watch them, or I rent them from Amazon, I can watch them, and I'm satisfied till I need it again in 3, 4, 5 years. It's not like I'm watching these. I have a collection of like almost 1,000 movies, and that's not a real big collection, because I know people who have like 10,000 movies. It's nothing, but I don't watch those movies over and over again. It's like a handful. You got your Christmas movies and stuff like that. But anyways, the whole point is things change, times change. And there are things that we can do now that are different than what we were doing 5 years ago, than what we were doing 10 years ago. One of these things that I think is very, very important, that I think a lot of people don't want to deal with, myself included, is password managers. Who the heck wants to? Now, the password managers, when I was doing a lot more businesses, was basically an Excel spreadsheet with a password on it. that was the password manager for most businesses. Well, now you got things like LastPass and all these other different ones that you can basically set them up where you can share passwords, where it's not actually sharing the actual password, but it gives, people in a corporation or whatever, they have the enterprise version. They can actually get to that stuff and be able to, if they're able to log into this company or that company, and they're able to do those things. I think it's an important thing, but it also comes with a steep learning curve. And I think a lot of times we don't want to take the time and effort to offer this to our clients because we don't want to take the time and effort to train them. But if all things are billable and this is what you do for a living, why not? It seems like a good idea to me. And again, I'm the guy that I understand. I'm the guy who goes kicking and screaming and goes, I don't want to do that. I'd rather stick 2 forks in my eye and call it a day. But the reality is, these are some of the things that you can add on in your business to make it more profitable. Now, is it going to make you busier? Absolutely. But again, like we talked about before, getting set up in the beginning and having this stuff where it's streamlined will benefit you over time. Again, the first time you do something, it's really, really hard and takes a long time usually. But after you've done it 100 times or even 50 times, 25 times, all of a sudden it's like, hey, this is nothing. People go, oh, it's hard to do that. And I go, no, it's not. But I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah. And as far as sales, I hate selling. I don't like, it feels, if I'm just trying to sell something because it's like, that's the thing of the flavor of the month that I want to increase my numbers on or something, that feels dirty and I don't like it. But if I have kind of a mental inventory, and I have to sort of organize this a little bit, although now it's become second nature to me now because it's a lot of these things I've had for a long time. But when I was new, especially, I had to make myself like a printed out list, and I would kind of review it daily of like, these are things, and this is kind of the prices and that I've come up with, and keep a mental inventory of things. And then just be looking for problems when you are on site or talking to somebody. Just be looking for things that you can solve with the things that you sell, So you see somebody sitting there trying to type in a password because they got to log into the email because there's a 2-factor thing, and you need to get the code out of the email so they need to log into their email and they can't type in their password and they're sitting there cursing at their computer, and you go, hey, I have a solution for that. Would you like to hear about it? And you don't have to be cheesy about it. Just, hey, look, you're really struggling with that password thing. I have a thing that we can do together that will probably solve all your problems with that. And then if somebody's like complaining about their Wi-Fi, or if you notice their Wi-Fi is bad, or whatever, you just look for problems and pop in there as the hero with the solution, and then you make money and make people happy.
Absolutely. And I think the way to look at that is, you said it exactly right. All these situations should be a win-win situation. And we've talked about this before, where it's very important to, you are selling something, but you're selling a solution. You're not just selling something to make more money. You're selling something that's going to take care of the customer and let them be able to do whatever it is that they do. Now, they have the ultimate choice to go, no, I don't want to do that. And that's fine. But the reality is, if we don't offer it, then you can never get a yes or no answer. All you got to do is offer it. Hey, if they turn it down, again, make sure you keep these conversations via email or phone conversation or whatever, and make notes of this stuff, because when they come back and go, hey, why could we have avoided this? Yeah, we could have, with that thing I mentioned like 6 months ago. Could have avoided this. And here's all we were asking for, is you to do this over time and to add this product or service on that was going to make your life easier and avoid situations that come up like this.
Rick in the chat says sell central management so they can depend on you for everything. I'm like, yes.
Yes. One, and that is definitely one way of doing it. There's other things out there that a lot of people have started in this business doing multiple things. Hey, we're the person that wanted to design our own website, deal with our own advertising, doing all this kind of stuff, keep our own files and paperwork and different things for our own CMR system. Whatever it might have been back in the day, we were in order to start this and save money, we were the person that was doing everything. And then we kind of figured out some of the things that we like to do. You talk about things like SEO. SEO is a service. Now, will I ever do SEO? Oh no, I won't. That's me. But there are people you can put, if somebody wanted to know about SEO, I'd send them over to Matt Rodella's site, Computer Business Marketing. Or I would partner with him and go, hey, what can we do I'm going to send my clients your way. What can you do to help with their SEO on their website? And that way, a partnership is going to be able to not only do that, but it also keeps it off my plate of something that I don't want to do. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, but you always should be looking for options. And again, if you're not real busy and you go, man, I only know how to do this one thing. I know how to do virus removal, and you're not adding anything onto that. Well, shame on you. There's only so many virus removals to be done. And eventually they get caught up and you're good for a while. But if you have other things that you can provide for a customer, they're going to be more likely to come to you for everything. And again, that's why I think partnerships are important. You don't want to give away your business or anything like that, but you want to partner with somebody that you trust and that's not going to steal your clients, that's maybe good at one thing. I wish people would kind of niche down into their own things and say, hey, I'm good at this, but I got this other person that's good at that, and I've got this other person that's good at that. So there is kind of a balancing act. And you got to kind of feel it out, and you got to, you know what? Just try things. Hey, try it once. Monday morning, go out there and ask somebody, hey, I see you have a problem with this. Here's a service that we could provide to fix that problem. Would you be interested in looking at it? It's that simple. It's not hard. It's not like you're sitting there you got to get over that. I don't know whether it's a sales mentality or what it is, but you've got to go in there with confidence and know that you know what you're talking about, and that people are coming to you because you're the expert. If they were the experts, they wouldn't be coming to you. So you got to remember that. And I'm not saying that you're better than others, but you're good at what you do. And so because of that, you can provide the solutions. And hey, maybe if one solution doesn't work out or one vendor solution doesn't work out, you can always switch to another one. It's not that hard. They come and go all the time. Oh, I'm sorry, Brad. I'm going off here. So what other services, Brad, have you thought about actually providing your customers that you haven't yet?
Our big push right now is, we're getting everyone that's been around for a while and is not on the retainer, putting everyone on a retainer. So that's just, hey, it costs me money to maintain all the stuff that I'm able to do for you guys. So you're going to have to pay for it. Like $100 a month for a small client. And that includes very little. Like it just basically is us continuing to do a good job. We have, all the overhead and all the little things that go into all the stuff that we don't even think about it when I'm sitting there thinking about what my overhead is, but maintaining remote desktop service. We use Screen Connect, but Log Me In or whatever you use. All those little tools, all the little things cost money. So we're putting everyone on a retainer, and that way it also kind of helps with that 5-minute phone call. Another one that I didn't really think of it as necessarily a revenue center until now. And we're like, okay, now we need to kind of, firewall, UTM, all those kind of subscriptions. So we're looking at Calyptics. Thanks, John. So I believe I will be installing my first Calyptics router in about a week. And then it's going to be kind of a waterfall from there, because I have one client with 10 locations we're going to start replacing those. So they have a 10-pack thing I'm going to be looking at because of that. I think I'm going to be able to take advantage of it. And then those are billed through your company, and they charge you their fee, and you charge the customer a marked up fee, and you can build in monitoring or whatever services. Like I get all these emails from you.
Oh, we lost you there for a second.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right.
You can build, you can mark it up and build in.
Yeah, you can build in a service. For us, it'll be, we're going to be getting email alerts, and we're going to be getting other, we're going to be checking in and paying attention. So really, just for the time and attention, that's going to be a service. We'll call it monitored firewall or something. And so we're just working on finding ways to get paid in a non-nickel and dimey way for things that we're doing already that we're kind of losing out, because it adds up. When you have a small number of regular customers, all those little things don't kill you, really. It's little emails here and there, little things you just kind of check up on, and how am I going to bill for this 5 minutes that I spent that the customer didn't even ask for? I just happened to be kind of proactively doing this. And when you get a lot of regular customers, that could end up being half your day, just the little stuff. So that's kind of where the retainer idea is coming from. And then more of these little, like, okay, the Calyptics will have a little markup in there. So we're just trying to get paid for work that we do that has been difficult to get. I mean, we could charge for it, but it's just people used to complain about all the nickel and dimes. Like we'd send them an invoice for this. Like, oh man, every time I call Brad, it costs me like $100, and they, I'd hear that from customers, like, yeah, we feel like you're just hitting us over the head with all these little things every time we call. So now we're finding other ways to sort of pool that, and they're still paying for it. But for some reason, when it's not literally every time they pick up the phone, they feel better about it. So that's kind of, I didn't come up with this. Was this a Facebook topic, by the way?
Yes.
Yes. It's a good topic.
Well,
yeah.
a lot of people too they're starting to get used to subscription services. So, we talked about this last week, I think, where we were terrible at subscription services because nobody wanted to pay for things over time. They wanted to, hey, I want to buy it one time, hold on to it for 10 years and use it. And the reality is you want something that's maintainable and also is going to update itself without having to worry about it. Now, if you think about this from a business aspect, again, this goes back a way long time ago, but I used to require companies that had software to actually have a contract with the company, even though I was the intermediary and I was going to a Peachtree or a QuickBooks or whatever. I made them in those subscriptions were $600 a year, just so I was able to call them when we had a problem, because I didn't know everything about that software. And I still get this question today, and it's still very irritating when somebody goes, well, you're the computer guy. How come you don't know that? Because like I know everything in the world. But you're the whatever. You're the doctor. How come you don't know what's wrong with me? I just told you what I had.
Yeah, and I get that. I get that a lot from people when they can't remember their password. They're like, well, you're the computer guy. What should I do? I said, remember your damn passwords.
Exactly. You know what? I don't normally say this, but I'm going to say this now. Go ahead, write it down and put a sticky note on your monitor.
Yep. That's where we're at for you.
Put it under the keyboard. I don't, whatever. Put it in a note on your phone. And just make sure at least you have a rudimentary passcode or password on your phone to get into it. So when it's laying around, people can't just pick it up and get in there very easily. Again, you're not going to stop everybody, but there are ways to do things. Again, password managers are awesome. It's one of every time we talk about a product or service, though, we're talking about that fee. But I think if people are able to take their budget over the year and they say, hey, this is going to cost me an extra, I don't know, $600 a year, then, you know, that's $50 a month extra to have this service, and it's planned. It comes out it's either monthly or yearly or quarterly or every 6 months, but it's a planned expense that they already know about. And I think that's that makes people feel better if they already had that planned expense up front, where, like you said, Brad, a lot of times if they feel like we're nickel and diming them, we're not meaning to. It's not the last thing I want to do is send out an invoice for a 5-minute phone conversation, because that's more work on me.
Yeah.
So how do I make this easier? How do I automate this so that they're just paying a fee over a given period of time and they're able to use that? Whether it's retainer, prepaid tickets, there's many ways to do it. And you got to figure out which way is going to work best for you. Not every way is good for everyone. It all depends on how you work in your business. Brad, the other thing too, I noticed is I was looking through some of these things. Somebody talked about smartphone ticket management with signature capture.
Yeah, I saw that on there. I was like, yeah, moving on. I don't know what that is. Unless they're talking about like RepairShoper kind of thing, but that's not something you'd sell to a customer. So I'm not really sure what that one meant.
Well, I'm almost wondering in today's day and age, with the way that you have, you know, especially with the new chip cards and all that kind of stuff, is there a way for businesses? And I don't know if any businesses out there, I'm sure there's some, they're using something like a Square, you know, maybe it's not Square, but maybe their system is they can basically go to the table, they can, you know, so, and it's wireless, they can insert a chip card or something like that, get a little signature. I mean, I think about, even from my standpoint, my small business, I use Square, and it's really, I use it on my little phone, and I just have people take their finger and jot their signature when I'm taking a credit card.
Right.
Not a big deal. You know, whether you're using the swipey one or the, you know, the chip card reader. I think that actually I need to get one, and I haven't gotten one yet. The chip card reader, I think, is wireless. So you don't even have to plug it into the phone. Just swipe it, take, boom, done.
I think that's right. That is another thing that I forgot about. And we decided we didn't have the volume to make it worthwhile, but you can call up like Vantiv or, you know, whoever, the WorldPay, and you can become you can be like a reseller for credit card services too. You go into a business and say like, hey, let me check your rates, and I'll beat your rates, and then you get a small commission off of all their purchases. So that's another thing you can sell.
That's good. Hey, Rick's staying in the chat room. He says, he goes, I want that. Customer creates work order ticket on system tray. I schedule on smartphone, work it, get signature as evidence, and invoice if possible, all from the smartphone. I will say this. So a lot of people know that, and this is something that I probably have to overcome myself. But for me, when a customer's coming in for the very first time and they're a first time customer, I'm basically taking a work order sheet and they're filling it out. Why? Because in my opinion, if you've ever filled out anything on a phone or tablet, it's easier to write it out. It's easier to write your name, write your address, write your email address, and then I can take all that information and transcribe it. Yes, I agree. It would be great to have everything in one spot where I can just whip out my phone or my tablet or even my laptop, I guess, for that matter, and go, here, just fill this stuff in. But think about it from a standpoint of filling, you know, even people that fill out stuff online to purchase things get confused. So there needs to be an easier process, and I'm not sure that exists as of yet. It would definitely be, it'd be a nice feature to have. Get rid of the paper, right?
Yeah, Rick's asking about that. If you put Ninja RMM on a desktop, you know, as your RMM, that you can create tickets out that way, and then that can be kicked over. They can link to RepairShoper. Those two systems integrate. So what he's talking about with having a customer create a ticket from their own desktop little tray, and then it coming to you on the phone, RepairShoper has an app and I still just use their web app, but they have an actual Android app and an iOS app that I think the only thing it does for me that's better is that it can scan the barcodes, but I think the web version is better. But either way, that's kind of what he's talking about, I guess. And then you can do all the signatures on the screen, just like you can operate without any paper, basically. And then it's cool because you can go from the laptop to a phone to an iPad, either way, interchangeably. So if you need to type a lot, you can get an actual keyboard out. And if you want to just kind of be quick and have what's in your hand, you can use a smartphone. I appreciate what you're saying, Jeff, about the paper. I still carry a notepad everywhere I go, and I do jot things down on paper.
It's easier, right? But I'm going to go back and I'm going to say that here's a situation where I can learn something. As you're talking about that, and I'm looking at the chat room and I'm thinking about this, I'm kind of backwards, because the reality is when you walk into a place, I'm really not filling out any paperwork. The person behind the counter is usually going, "What's your name? What's your address? Phone number?" Whether even at a cashier register, a lot of times they're getting that information, right? And you give them that information, it goes into a database. It's going into a database. And then basically you can take that phone or tablet or whatever, turn it around. And yes, you can have them sign the signature just like I do with Square. So actually that makes perfect sense. Now, could you sell that service to other small businesses? I'm sure there would be things in place that they could do that would maybe make their lives easier too, and have that as an add-on service.
I mean, I have adapted RepairShoper for other businesses that used it. I even have a little online retail business. They just loved, they knew RepairShoper because I used it. And they're like, "Well, can we use that?" I was like, yeah, you can. It's got inventory, it's got invoicing, it's got ticketing, you can use the ticketing portion if you want for like customer service stuff. I mean, why wouldn't you just use it it works for almost any business. So I have, and if you do a referral with RepairShoper, they will pay you for referrals, and then you can bill for the time to help them set it up.
Well, there you go.
And because it's free for a smaller, client, a smaller use case, you can get it going for free so they can test it, kick the tires. Anyway, yeah. And then what else was somebody saying in here? Oh yeah, paper is great for when you kind of need like a direct brain connection to getting something captured. There is a little bit of a disconnect with keyboard, although I'm pretty good with typing now on pretty much any platform, but still there's times when drawing out something is better. But if I think there's even a chance that I won't have time to get that copied over into a digital form where it's actually going to get saved and replicated and backed up, it's got to go straight into the phone or a computer or something, because I have so many. My backpack got stolen out of my car, so I lost my laptop and my notepad, and I was really bummed. And then one of my customers called me that day and was like, "Hey, you left your notebook here when you were working yesterday. So we're saving it for you. Just come get it." I'm like, "Oh, my notepad didn't get stolen. That's amazing. Like the computer, fine. Like that sucked, but but everything on there is backed up. That's not a problem. But the notepad, like there's stuff written in there that I don't even know I'll find out about it in a year. Somebody will be like, "Oh yeah, what's that thing?" And I haven't necessarily captured all that again into a searchable document of any kind. So that made me realize, like, oh man, I got to get better at going through my notebook every day and putting it. But
well, and I think, and going back to that, there are things that people are not using the full potential. If you're doing something like an Office 365, right? You've got OneNote, which I use all the time. I actually use it for documentation, not only for the podcast, for my business, for personal stuff. Why isn't it we're taking that it's a great digital tool. Why are we not teaching other people how to use it and having them pay for us teaching them how to use it? I mean, there's another add-on service. Hey, here's the things you can do, and here's how you get your start. I mean, if you do any type of training, obviously training is billable. I think a lot of times though, people will train somebody and they get so irritated because they're not getting paid for it. No, you just got to send an invoice out. You can get paid for those add-on services. Because again, if you're not taking advantage, you're just helping the customer learn something, do something new. That's why we get paid.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that slowed me down at some point was kind of going like, okay, I've got to formalize. If I'm going to do a training thing, you know, I'm going to kind of have to formalize a thing. We'll make an appointment. No. When you're there, people ask me what my prices are, and it's almost always hourly, unless it's a very specific thing that I'm doing, and that this is this is how much this costs. But if I'm here and I'm talking to you, and we're working on stuff, hourly rate. And so when something like that comes up, you're like, oh, I see you need to, you know, organize your notes or whatever. Would you like me to show you how to use OneNote? They know I'm on the clock, and I'm not, you know, I'm not ever shady about it. It's like, hey, do you mind if we take a little more of time to show you this? And then sometimes they'll go, oh, that sounds great, but let's do that another time, because they don't want to pay for that extra, however long that's going to take, or they don't have time. Or they go, oh yeah, that's great. Let's do that. Then we spend another half hour, and that's on the clock. And they knew it was on the clock. I knew it was on the clock. I got all the patience in the world.
Right.
And,
exactly.
And then they like walk away learning something new. And then I have remote access. So later, like the next day, they'll call me and they're like, hey, what was that thing we did? And remember that? And that's where the retainer comes in, because that was a 5-minute quick phone call that I'm not going to bill extra for. So.
Exactly. And you know, that's the other thing too, when we're talking about services and you're building your price. Because again, I think one of the things that comes up all the time, depending on where you're from, is price. You need to build those if you're going to do any type of follow-up or what they would call aftercare or anything like that. Make sure that you build that into your hourly rate, or if you're doing a flat fee for certain services, build it in. Understand that there's a fee for that stuff. So you can sit there and try to figure all this stuff out, or you can just up your rates a little bit to cover those things when they come up. They won't always come up, but a lot of times if they do, hey, it's not a big deal. I've got enough margin in here where I'm able to pay for the things I need to do and have it taken care of. And so it makes it a little bit easier on you. And those phone calls, again, get a lot less irritating when you know that you're being compensated for your time.
Yeah. And if you boost your, like when you look at a project or whatever, and you're looking at your hourly rates or your time and materials fees and stuff, build a little extra in because of, yes, follow-up, and also the time it took you to do the proposal. You probably had to have a meeting. If it's a big enough project, you probably had to drive somewhere and have a meeting, gather a bunch of information, spend some time, go back, put together a proposal, research the costs and all the things. And, you know, you take the time, and then you may or may not get the job. So when you do a job, you're probably getting paid for the 2 or 3 proposals that it took to various customers that didn't get accepted. And then this one did, but that time, you got to get paid for that time somehow. So
absolutely. And the other thing too is a lot of times, you know, like I said, I've done this before where you go in and you can charge and hey, we're going to do a discovery. We're going to do a full discovery on everything that you need. And because of that, you're going to pay me my hourly rate, and it's going to take a couple hours, but we're going to come in, we're going to look at everything, and we're going to, you know, because again, that kind of gives you a buy-in. And I'm all for going out there and getting business from basically word of mouth and different things like that. But at the same time, I look at businesses and I look at them, and I would rather have somebody that goes, hey, this seems like the person we want to work with. If you don't get that vibe right off the front, I'm just not interested in doing business with those types of customers. Now, a lot of people will, and maybe weed them off later. And it all depends on where you're at in your business and what you want to do. I think there comes a point in everybody's business where you can pick and choose the jobs that you do. And because of that, it makes your life a lot easier. Again, it comes back down to, I've said this before, you got to take care of yourself mentally, physically, all that kind of stuff. So, but I don't want to ever hear anybody crying about not being able to make it in this business because everybody's going to smartphones and business is going down. No, you just got to create some other revenue things that we didn't have access to as much in the past. Now we do. So take advantage of them. Think of things. Again, products and services were designed to solve a problem in any industry. That's why they're there. There was a problem. They came up with a solution. They sold that solution, which made everybody happy. It's no different. We're going back to old style business that's thousands and thousands of years old. So this is nothing new. But for a lot of us, that if you don't know, it may seem new.
Yeah,
Brad,
you just live in. I was saying, just live in. If you care enough about the business, if you're in this industry and you care, and if you're listening to a podcast about computer business, then you're probably one of those people that care. You just kind of stay up with what's happening and evolve, and you won't even my business looks so different than it did when I started it, but I don't really, I didn't notice because it didn't happen overnight. Every day I'm finding out about something and doing something different. And you just kind of keep rolling with it. And it's like, I've never had that wake up moment where like, oh my God, everything fell apart and I have to start all over again. That's not how it works. Just stay up with it. It doesn't, and add these little things and change every day and just keep doing a good job.
Absolutely. And one of the things I was just reading in the chat room here, Greg Foltz said, I started a new business to focus on training and setup of online services or apps and programs. That's perfect. That's part of what we should be doing. Now, I know John, going back to another topic we were talking about, he also said Google Keep for the win, no paper needed. And I know a lot of people will use Google Keep. You can use OneNote, Evernote, whatever you want to do to keep that paperwork. You just got to figure out what's going to work for you. And some of those things will absolutely work for people that, again, whatever you put in is what you're going to get out of it. So a lot of times that creation portion is the hard part to do. But once you're in it, maybe there's a time where you don't go looking for better services for that, but take the things that you're using in your business and actually sell those trainings or different pieces of software to other businesses to help themselves out. Or, I mean, how many residential businesses are there? People work out of their home, right? They need that stuff, especially if they're working out of their home. There's a lot of distractions and different things, and there's things you can do to make their life that much better. Brad, is there anything else we can touch on this particular subject?
I think we went down many avenues with that. I think we got it pretty well handled.
Hopefully it helps somebody out there. And it just gives you something to think about. There's a couple things that I'm thinking about now, just from the conversation we had on how to better my business, how to make it where it makes my life easier, and to put some things in place that are going to be able to do that. A lot of times we're in the business just kind of doing it and not really working on our business, which, again, got to take that time and effort to do that, regardless of whether we want or not. All right, I want to take a moment, and if you're enjoying the content that we bring on this show on a weekly basis, or mostly weekly basis, except when there's holidays and whatnot. On Sundays, we take time off, but most of the time throughout the year, we're coming up with this podcast and different things to help you, the computer repair business owner out there. If you want to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/computer repair podcast. And I want to thank our newest Patreon supporter. It's Louis Ruse. And I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong. I want to thank him for giving to the podcast. And also, we're up to 73 people in the secret Facebook group. So again, if you are a supporter, Now, this is not all our supporters. So if you are a supporter and you have not given me either, there's one of two ways you can get in the secret Facebook group. Number one is by supporting us through Patreon. It's $1 a show. But also, if you want to friend me on Facebook, you can go ahead and do that. And if you're a supporter, I'll go ahead and add you in there manually. Or if you want, if you are a supporter, just send me an email with the email address that you use to log into Facebook and whatever that might be. So everybody has one because that's how you create a Facebook account. But either one of those ways, if you're supporting the group or supporting the show at $1 per show, it's no more than $4 a month. Cheap cup of coffee. And we really appreciate it. And I just want to thank all of our Patreon supporters out there for your continued support. You're definitely making my life easier. I'll put it that way, because I'm able to pay for some things, some software and different things, make my life easier in producing the podcast and different things that we do. All right. We have a couple emails, and we'll go ahead and go into that. I think let's see. All right. This is from Angela Henderson. It says, hi there. I'm a listener and computer repair business owner. Welcome, Angela. Says, I write a newsletter for other residential repair people to stay in touch with their customers. And it's not cookie cutter or generic. It has a very friendly and approachable tone. And I will put the link in the show notes to where you can actually pick these up. They're one-offs, so you can buy one. You can buy a bunch of them. So if you're doing a quarterly, monthly, whatever newsletter, these are things that she wrote. She sent me a sample copy of one, and there's a lot of good information in there. And it's really well done. And I think they were like $8 a piece. So again, return on investment on something like that. If you want to send a newsletter out when the business is getting slow, it's a great time to be able to do that stuff and send that newsletter out and let other people respond back and put you front of mind so that they go, hey, I had a computer problem. I was going to contact you. I'm glad you sent this out. Because here's the thing. I have a lot of good customers, but even my good customers are super, super busy. And I actually have to reach out to them sometimes multiple times just to get them to either drop off their computer, have me go pick it up or whatever. I know they need something done because we've talked about it, and it's just the time to be able to do that. And they're more than happy to, once we finally coordinate and get that stuff done, they're more than happy to pay whatever it is I charge, and it's not a big deal. So they appreciate that, that type of service. But anyways, putting yourself front of mind, a newsletter definitely is a way to do that. And there's many services out there, but I thought this was a interesting one. And like I said, I checked that out personally and it looks good to me. So definitely check it out. Fred, speaking of, do you send out newsletters to people?
I have started that. Yes, but no. I've done it so many times, like where I was like, okay, I'm going to do that, or I was going to have like a blog or something. I really should. I mean, I guess I'm busy, so maybe I should is a strong word, but I don't get around to it, and I would like to. I might. That would be something that would probably get. When I hire my next just admin assistant, I'll throw that person an update like, hey, I'll shoot out. You know what ends up happening is when I find out something that applies to like a handful of customers, I'll shoot them an email that's like, hey, I just found out about this. You should know about it real quick. So it's kind of like a newsletter.
That's good. Again, it's just keeping them front of mind, right? And sending that information out. You're trying to help, but at the same time, it's reciprocal. And that goodwill comes back in the form of people remember and say, oh, yeah, I wanted something done. And now's a good time to get a hold of you. It's all about timing. It really is. It's not a lot of times. If you're finding customers that you basically have to pull teeth in order to get paid, get rid of those customers no matter how much it hurts and get new customers that they don't balk at that stuff. They're just like, hey, whatever. I trust you. I like you. You're my guy. Here's what we're going to do. And you're going to take care of the problem. And that's the type of customer that I want. All right. And let's see. Second email. This comes from Joe Mezzanini. And I get Joe's periodic. There's a forum group that I belong to where I get these periodic emails and they send out information. Anyways, this is a link, and I'm going to put it in the show notes on how to easily download the Windows 10 ISO without using the media creation tool. Did not know it was possible. Again, certain things to learn. I learned something new today. So I'm definitely going to, it walks you through the steps of what you need to do, and it's very easy. So I know, and the reason I bring this up is because I've heard of people having problems with the media creation tool for whatever reason. And I've also heard of people having problems with a DVD creator or USB, or I'm sorry, a USB ISO creator like Rufus. I personally have never had a problem with either one, but I'm not saying that it can't happen because, again, computers, software, hardware, especially software, it's hard. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's why we're here. We're here to jump through the hoops and figure out what works and what doesn't and make it work for the things that we need to do. Now, Brad, did you know that you could actually download the Windows 10 ISO without using the media creation tool?
No, but I've never had a problem with the media creation tool, so I've never thought about it. Also, I've only had to do that like twice in my life. So,
what, download Windows 10?
Yeah.
Really?
We're not there yet.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Windows 10 is I have two different versions, but the versions that I have them on USB sticks, and they've probably been on there for well over a year. Every once in a while I'll update it, even though it really doesn't change anything, because when you're doing a fresh install and you have a network connection, it's downloading all the updates anyways and taking care of it. And then usually you might have to do one or two major updates. And I know a lot of people they'll throw all that stuff in, they'll make an image, and that's all fine and dandy. But it's so fast, even doing it the old fashioned way, especially on an SSD drive. It just, I don't know. It seems pretty simple. Is that what you do, or you just you go the image way, don't you?
No,
You're that guy.
We don't. So you talk about the. Well, yes, I do image, but not all the time. It's actually pretty rare that I have the opportunity to really image. But I don't know. You talk about the computer industry, like people saying the repair business is dying. I don't do a lot of repairs. I mean, 90% of our day is filled with other computer-related networking, question answer, password resets, printers. Getting printers we don't repair printers. We just get them on the network and get them to work. Like I don't fix a lot of broken computers ever. I mean, I can. It'll happen. I'll have a hard drive going south, and I'll image it over to or clone it to an SSD and replace it, or stuff like that. But it's not common. I don't use like tools to open up computers or re-image operating systems like very often. It's actually I get kind of rusty because I so infrequently have to do actual repairs, and I don't understand how that works. I don't know why.
I think it depends on where you're from too, depending on the area and whatnot. I would say that there's still a lot of software issues that I'm fixing. Either like we've talked about before, either from Windows 10 updates or whatever. There's several different things that come down.
I get that. I mean, obviously that a lot, but not like to the point where I have to download a Windows 10's DVD and go.
Well, you're right. And granted, I don't really like doing fresh installs. In fact, I'm dreading it on this particular machine. And I don't do it all that often. I've got all the USB sticks with all the operating systems on there. I rarely, something's got to be really, really hosed. Now, there has been a couple times where a Windows 10, the next update wouldn't come down for whatever reason. I have ran into that periodically where I've had to do a reinstall. Not really a hard issue though. And what I'm noticing is, as much as people hate the big updates, sometimes those big updates are actually fixing things too. I have noticed that. Not just destroying things like everybody thinks, but they do actually fix things that were maybe broken and not working because of driver issues or whatnot. There's that. But anyways, if you ever wanted to, and here's the other thing too, if you have the chance to get any operating system ISO in its rare naked form, vanilla, with none of the thrills and whatever, then I guess I probably could have said it a little bit better.
Not Tahitian vanilla, just regular vanilla.
But anyways, it's a good idea to keep these things because you never know.
Yeah.
There is a program that I have. I've only had to use it a handful of times. And I probably won't ever use it again, but I will not get rid of it. And it's a word converter. So you could take Works files, Microsoft Works from back in the day, and you can convert them to Word. Because other than this tool, I've never found anything where you're able to do that. So, and I've done it a handful of times over the years. I've had somebody that comes back and they go, hey, I've got these Works files and now the computer's dead. And it's like, hey, what do we do? You know, I copy the files. Well, we don't, Works is not on your new computer. You're not going to be able to view these. They look like a bunch of gobbledygook. So basically this converter will convert it into the Word format. No problem.
Wow. Man, you're jogging some old memories right now with that. Did Works not have one of the two programs, Word or Works? Now I'm like trying to remember back to turn of the century, but literally turn of the century.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it was turn of the century. Yeah, now that I think about it, you're right. Works did. Yeah.
But Word could open, like there was an old version of Word, I think, that could open Works files and then save it. But they must have dropped that out or something.
They did. It was either Office XP,
yeah,
or Office 2003 was the last one. I can't remember which. One of the two.
Right. None of those I have anywhere. So.
Hey, for all you kids out there that don't understand what we're talking about, just Google it. Oh man, kids nowadays, they got it so easy. It's not hard at all. Oh, anyways. Well, I think, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do things in this business. And I think that you just have to sometimes take a step back, get yourself outside of your business, take some time, set it aside, whether it's an hour a week, an hour every 2 weeks, an hour a month, whatever it is, but be true to yourself and take that time to go, what can I improve in my business? Because a lot of times all it really takes is sitting down and thinking about it. Instead of running around to the next thing, go, you know what? It doesn't matter what's going on over here. I'm going to take the time and effort to make myself better, to improve my business. Even if you did it an hour a month, that's 12 hours a year that you've worked in your business that you wouldn't have from just chasing fires all the time. So would you think that that's probably a good piece of advice?
No, it's terrible advice, Jeff. Don't spend any time investing in yourself. Why would you do that?
Just run around chasing fires. Pee on a fire hydrant every once in a while, you'll be fine.
Do you have more emails? Because there was a topic that came up in the chat room that might be worth talking about for 5 minutes.
Hey, let's talk about it. What do we got?
Okay. Rick mentions customer calls. He's asking questions, basically kicking the tires to see if you'll tell him how to do what you're going to do so that he can do it himself. And then how do you deal with that? Do you charge him? Whatever.
That's a great question.
Yeah, because I have had that happen, and it takes a little while to figure out what's happening. Like you think they're just asking for a quote, and then they start fishing for more info. Some of them, I'm not sure if he means that, like, this person said straight up, hey, can you tell me how to do this so that I can do it? If that's the case, you go, no, you can't. I'm not going to tell somebody how to take a screwdriver to their laptop and let them go run free with it, because I don't want them to come back and say, hey, I did what you said to do, and now it's broken. So if you tell me in advance that you're asking me how to do my job so that you can do it yourself, I'm sorry, but for liability reasons, my insurance company won't allow me to do that or something. I make up something, but the answer is no.
So here's what I do is I basically will say, you know what? I'm not really sure what's going on with that machine, but I'll tell you what, if you bring it in, I can do a diagnostic on it.
Yep.
And again, as the conversation keeps on going, yeah, I'm not really, I over the phone, I'm not really sure what's going on with that machine. There could be a bunch of things that are going on, and I would need to do a diagnostic in order to figure out what it is that that needs to be repaired.
Yeah. And that will be the person that I make sure to actually actually institute this diagnostic fee. I don't really ever have to, just because of the nature of the clients that I have, and the times that I would have, and it ended up being something where they just agreed to do the fix, and I never really had to do the diagnostic fee. So it just kind of worked out nicely where I've never had to. But in that case, I would have to do a diagnostic, and there's a diagnostic fee of $100, and that will be applied towards the repair, and then you never see that person again. And so I have done that, and therefore I've still never had to actually charge a diagnostic fee, because the people that I feel like I need to they don't want to pay it.
It reminds me, and some people might remember this story, but I remember I had a customer calling me and wanted me to reinstall an operating system. And this was a brand new customer. They got my number off of Google AdWords or whatever, off of the Google search engine. They called me up, said, hey, I need a Windows operating. It was probably might have been Windows 7. Need Windows 7 installed on its computer. So that's great. Be 125 or whatever it was back then. And they're like, oh, really? That's a lot. Don't you just have to stick a disc in or something? I said, here's the deal. I said, if you can actually find a disc, like if your buddy's got a disc or whatever, you could stick that in and just reinstall it yourself, no problem. So, go ahead and do that. But I charge 125. So the conversation kept going on. He's just like kind of hemming and hawing and saying how much this costs. And so I'm redirecting whatever he's saying to me and redirecting it to him. No, that's a good idea. Man, if you can get that disc, I would just do it that way. That'll save you a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I'm like the biggest cheerleader to let you do your own work if that's what you want to do. So to me, those conversations, they don't happen a whole lot, but when they do, you kind of feel people out, and I'm nice about it. I'm not mean. I'm not going, what do you think this is, a charity? No, again, goodwill goes a long way. Just
Sure.
be nice, but be firm in your convictions and understanding. Again, you could call it psychological warfare, which I'm fairly good at. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. But if you just think about it and just take those things that people are trying to say to you and just bring it back to them and agree with them in a manner that makes sense, eventually they'll get off the phone and go, and then they'll go do whatever. They'll probably call the next guy who will do it for $50, whatever.
Yep.
And it's fine. It's not that, again, those are not, I'm not hurting that bad that those are the customers I want. I just don't. I want the customers to go, hey, I need this fixed. Can you do it? Yes, I can. Great. When can I drop it off? That's all I want. If there's a conversation outside of that, other than if you're genuinely wanting to know maybe what could be wrong, and I could diagnose things on the phone to a certain extent where I go, hey, the computer's not turning on. I said, okay, you don't get anything on the screen or whatever. And they're like, no. Okay, it sounds like a power supply issue. Is it a laptop? Is it a desktop? Okay, it could be the power supply, could be the cord, there's many things it could be within that one thing. Or if they say, hey, the computer won't turn on, or it turns on and the screen kind of see, a lot of times when the black screen comes up and there's a little cursor there, a lot of people will say the computer's not turning on. But when we look at it, we go, no, the computer's turning on, but it's not seeing anything. Usually the hard drive, or maybe the RAM's bad, and so it can't get past the boot up process to get to the hard drive. those are the things we see. But from a customer standpoint, so I think the easiest thing to say is, I'm not really sure. It could be a couple of different things. We can check that out and do a diagnostic and let you know exactly what it is. And just leave it at that.
Well, and since I don't have a shop, I am going to have to go to the computer. So I will spend a little bit more time on the phone sometimes to kind of nail it down and realize or decide if it's worth even looking at. I'll only go as far as to say, like, okay, is this worth looking at, or should I just tell them to buy a new computer? Because I'm not going to drive out there and charge them to tell them they need a new computer. That's dumb. I don't have time for that, and I don't want to charge them for that because I walk in and go, yeah, there's nothing I can do. You need a new computer. Pay me for the trip. Like that's not in my. I don't have time for that. So I will spend a little time, like you said, just kind of go, oh, okay, like anything on the screen at all, any lights on the thing, or but I won't tell them exactly step by step. Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna get this part, and it's gonna be I'm gonna order it from here, so you could order it from here, and like give them all that. I'm not telling them how to do it, but yeah.
Here's the other thing that I ask right up front a lot of times when I'm taking these phone calls is somebody will say, they have an issue or whatever it is. The very, very actual first thing I ask is, how old's the computer?
Yeah.
And they'll throw something out there and, oh, it's like 5 or 6 years old. I said, we can look at it. We can diagnose it. We can fix it, because there's always a fix.
Sure.
There's a fix up into the point of replacing everything in that particular computer. But once it gets past 4 years old, especially on the consumer stuff, if it's past 4 years, I go, you know what? You're probably going to be better off getting another computer. And what you can do, if you need your stuff transferred over, we can provide that service for you to transfer the stuff to your new computer, and we'll get it set up for you properly. So I do a setup and transfer service that I get paid well to do. And then they don't have all these things that are blinking in the background like McAfee or whatever that they never set up. Nobody ever goes through that process. So you got McAfee installed, which means Windows Defender's not running, but yet it's never been initialized. So it's like, hey, we're happy free here because we got no antivirus basically running on this machine at all. And that's why I tell them, here's all the things I'm going to do. I'm going to do all the updates. I'm going to make sure that everything is working the way it's supposed to work. Get it back to you. All you got to do is turn it on and go to wherever you want to go to your heart's content. Do whatever you want to do on this machine. That's the service that we provide.
Right. And that's right. Exactly. I have about the same cutoff. It's about 4 years old. If it seems like stuff's starting to fall apart, why? Let me help you pick out a nice computer for you to replace it with, and I'll help you get the new one set up.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Because everybody still thinks, I can't remember. I vaguely remember a very brief window of time when Office came with computers. I mean, I'm sure you paid for it somehow in the licensing, in the cost of the computer, but there were some computers that came with Office. And so people somehow decided that Office came with Windows, and it just came with your new computer. And so it's always a surprise to them. They go, oh, well, how much is a computer? I'm like, oh, well, it's about $700 for the desktop. And but then, got to get Word and Excel and stuff. And they're like, doesn't that just come with it? Every time.
I know.
No, it doesn't.
Well, here's the thing. It does, though. It always came in a trial form, or it has for the last probably several years.
Well, yes.
So there's a trial. So that's confusing in itself, right? Thank you, Microsoft. Stop being a jerk. We'll let them know about the Office 365 or whatever, or where they can go to Best Buy or whatever, or order the disc. If somebody wants Office that bad. If not, then they're not using it anyways. It was Office 2010 Starter that came on select PCs from Gateway, HP, Dell. And it was back in the Windows 7 era when they were doing that. So that came on certain PCs. And then here's the thing. I'll give you a prime example. Here's some things that a lot of people don't know. So I had somebody order a Dell laptop, Dell 13 on Amazon. They ordered it, got all the stuff, SSD, all that kind of good stuff on it. So I go in and she needs Office. I go, listen, Office 2010 is no longer being supported on your old Toshiba. I cannot install this. Now I can, but I won't. I just tell them I can't install this. And I can't, in good conscience, I can't install 2010. It's not supported. Okay. So I go in there and I said, what we need to do is we need to purchase either the $69 version where you get Office, you pay it every year, or we can pay $99. And if you have several, you have 5 computers you want to put it on, or tablets, or this or that, the other, it's $99 a year. I just want 69. Okay, great. So I go in and I'd already created him a Microsoft account. And here's a tip too on creating Microsoft accounts. Sometimes, especially on the residential side, you're going to have to do this for people. And I think in the long run, it's going to save you time. So I usually on a setup, I usually do that anyways. If they don't have one, or if I find out they do, then I'll go ahead and log in. But here's the thing. Her computer came with 1 year of Office 365 for free. It's free. So we went in, put the credit card information, all that kind of stuff in there, but she had it for a year for free. Another customer had gotten theirs off the Home Shopping Network. That came with a year for free, which is cool, which is, in my opinion, is the way Microsoft should do it. Just if you're going to do a subscription, that's fine. Give the first year for free on a new computer. Why not? Why not? So we'll see. Yeah. All right, Brad. I think we're about out of here. So why don't you give people one parting thought and let them know where they can find you?
Parting thought, just get outside. I went, oh, hold on. No, I want to share a really cool story about my birthday. My kids kidnapped me. And in the morning I was like kidnapped, they were like, hey, we're going somewhere. I'm like, where are we going? Wouldn't you like to know? And then, found, and these are kind of popping up. So they're few and far between, but you might be able to find one around you. Just a classic coin-op arcade with all the games that I played growing up. And it was the coolest thing. It's in this kind of older downtown area in this brick building, and you go inside and there's like a bar and they have a drink. It's like a whiskey sour with a lemon wheel that's cut into the shape of Pac-Man, and they used bitters to do dots on the top of it. And but it was just, my kids and I were sitting there playing games that I used to play with my friends, and it was a great day. So I don't know if there's a tip in there or whatever, but I had a good time. You should try to find a coin-op arcade, and just $5 never was better spent. It was great.
Nice. We actually have one in downtown Ann Arbor, not too far from here. So we do that periodically. And then the other thing too is what's the big place where they got all the modern video games and like huge Rock'em Sock'em robots. It'll come to me, but anyways, yeah, definitely get out and do other things other than sit behind your computer.
Go stand in front of a computer.
Well, but it's entertaining.
It was. I wish they were videoing me when I walked up there, because my face lit up. I was like, oh my God, where are we?
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool. All right. And where can people find you at?
You can find me at ttcscomputerservices.com, or email me, brad@ttcscomputerservices.com.
Awesome. All right. Come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/CRP Live. Join in on the conversation by hanging out in the chat room. You can send an email to podnutz@podnutz.com. We will answer it on the air, or leave a voicemail at 734-335-1000. We'll also play that on the air. I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on the Computer Repair Podcast.